the Office of National Statistics, no less, came out with some figures yesterday which showed that we are in a bit of a financial pickle at the moment, and austerity has kicked in. We are saving less money now than we have for at least 50 years. Rising prices and stagnant wages are to blame. Incomes have fallen for 3 successive quarters in real terms. What that means is that we are now in the sort of situation, according to these statistics, that we were in the 1970s when we had to be bailed out because we didn't have any money, literally. I would love to hear from anyone out there who is feeling the pinch. I suspect everyone is, in a way. I'd love to hear from people who aren't. Anyone out there not feeling the pinch? I think we all are. Would you normally be saving more money than this? How do you save money? Do you put it into some sort of pension scheme, savings scheme? I'd love to hear about people who are saving money, because at the moment, not many people are. I know interest rates are very, very low, but there's still a case for saving, isn't there? Or are you spending everything that you earn at the moment? Do you have a problem covering your rent or your mortgage? When was the last time you had a pay rise? And how serious is this becoming? Or are we just reading too much into it? So we are now saving, according to the Office of National Statistics, each one of us saves about 1.7% of our disposable income. And normally, for the last 30 years or so, it's nearer 10%. Why is this happening? Figures show living standards are as low as they were in the 1970s. 0345 6060 973. Tell me if you're saving, and tell me if you are not able to save because you literally have no disposable income. 0345 6060 973 is the number to ring. First of all, let's speak to Vicky Price, Chief Economics Advisor at the Centre for Economics and Business Research. Are we really as badly off since the 1970s, Vicky?
Well, I don't think we're going to be needing to be bailed out by anyone at present. I think there is quite a lot of room for manoeuvre there. But I think the real worry is what is going to sustain our economy in the future. If you look at what happened last year, for example, it was really consumer spending that sustained activity in the economy. Everything else looked pretty poor and quite down, including business investment. And it was the households that went out and spent because, of course, we had high employment and we had very low interest rates. So the question is, how long can that last? And what we're seeing right now is that this enthusiasm for spending, although it's maintained up to a point, because exactly as you've been saying, digging into their savings, isn't sustainable. And what we've seen already is that people are much more worried about spending in shops, and they're concerned about the extra cost of everything they buy, and they will find it quite difficult to spend as much, if you like, in terms of the growth that we saw last year, as they did in 2016.
Just explain why.
If that is the case, then what happens to growth?
Just explain why you think people are just not being given pay rises now. That seems to be the sort of the mantra of this.
Well, they are getting pay rises, but the problem is that the increase in inflation that we're seeing, particularly because of the fall in the pound following the referendum vote, it has taken its toll on prices. So what's going on right now is that inflation is rising faster than wages. And in wages, people are quite worried about giving great increases to anyone in the private sector because, of course, they're very uncertain about the future and they're not investing very much, and there's concern about expanding and paying much more than they need to because there's huge competition around. And in the public sector, of course, we have a wage cap, and that, as you know, has caused lots of difficulties for the governing party right now, Theresa May, who looked like she was going to relax that, but in fact that's not happening. And of course that is a serious problem. If you add to that the benefits cuts which are going on right now, which are going to carry on for quite some time, what we see is that disposable incomes are being squeezed. In fact, they're now falling, and with that, of course, spending is also being affected. Let's bring in Jasmine Birtles. Jasmine's a financial expert, business commentator, founder of MoneyMagpie.com. Is this all because of austerity, do you think, Jasmine, or are there other factors at work here?
Oh, yes, there are various factors. I mean, as Vicky said, after the referendum, sterling went down, and as we are net importers in this country, basic day-to-day things like petrol, food particularly, those sort of things have gone up. So when people are spending more of their money, their income on day-to-day necessities, that means they have less to play with. And that, of course, is not so good for the economy because people aren't making bigger purchases, houses, cars, even holidays, not so much, because they just don't have the cash.
What's the danger of people not saving, in your opinion?
Well, people have never saved enough in this country. So when I say never, certainly not in my lifetime. We have very little understanding, I think, of the importance of saving for the future. We're looking at just living day to day, and really we should be putting aside enough money to cover ourselves, our basic expenses, for 6 months. That's what most people should have. What most people have is enough money to cover themselves for about 2 weeks if they lose their jobs. So firstly, we really need to get more of this savings habit. But right at this moment, that's not easy because with a lot of people, not everybody by any means, but with a lot of people, they really are just about coping, particularly if they have a family. They're just about managing to feed their family. Some people aren't even managing quite to do that. So asking them to save as well is a tough one, frankly.
Vicky Price, how do we improve this situation, or will it just look after itself?
Well, it might look after itself if businesses become more confident for the future and start investing and then be able after that to pay the workers a little bit more, or if the government relaxes the cap, of course, on public sector pay. There's so many people who work for the public sector who haven't had a serious pay rise in ages. And that is a drain, of course, in terms of the ability to spend and sustain the economy, and that's the real worry. So what you need is certainty for the future, which we haven't had for quite some time, all these various elections, Brexit and so on, and for businesses then to see some improvement in productivity as well in their own operations, and be prepared then to reward the people for what they're producing. For the moment, they won't. They can't afford to, they're not willing to, and they're very, very worried about the future. So I think if we have a bit more certainty about what may be happening over the next couple of years, we might see businesses changing their minds and in fact starting to pay people a decent wage.
Vicky Price, thank you. And just a final point, Jasmine, is this uncertainty and people's unwillingness to spend as much and save as much, is it directly correlated to Brexit, do you think?
Oh, I do think so. Yes, definitely. We were actually doing kind of all right before that. I mean, it depends on your view always, but we had low food prices. We had at that time very low petrol prices. They've gone up partly because of OPEC since then. We had low interest rates, which is good for borrowers. We were in a good situation, and then Brexit happened and sterling took a dive. And although that's good for some exporters, for you and I, just buying stuff on the high street and trying to fill our petrol tanks and generally get about, it's been bad news, particularly, as Vicky says, with the uncertainty that's brought, and then the elections. We might have another election, who knows? So all of this uncertainty makes Britain look, both to the Brits and people outside, not such a good bet for investing, really.
OK, Jasmine Birtles, financial expert, thank you very much, and also to Vicky Price, Chief Economics Advisor at the Centre for Economics and Business Research.